Crack 'em if you got 'em, son.
Crack 'em if you got 'em, son.
Crack 'em if you got 'em, son.
A three-peat. A three-peat on a crazy Wednesday night.
Well, and I'm trying to use this skinny can in a regular can koozie. It's just a little weird.
Looks kind of funny. Hey guys, what is going on? Welcome back to the Can Fan Podcast. We have not been here for a while, it feels like, guys, since last Thursday.
I know.
It feels kind of weird when we don't have the Sunday game. I feel like I haven't been in the studio for a little bit, and I start getting a little bit stir crazy. And I feel like I don't know, I should have just went live by myself looking at the camera just so that we put something out. But I'm glad we didn't. We got a big show today. We got a special guest coming up. We got a bunch of Cowboys football to talk about. Before we jump into any of that, I just want to touch on the incident that happened on Monday Night Football with why did I just forget his name? Damar Hamlin, sorry. Yep. And I know it's not Cowboys news, but it's a thing that definitely impacts the full NFL. And I mean, it's caused quite a bit of controversy, so we're not really going to get into it. All I want to say is I really hope the guy's okay. I didn't make any posts on it on social media, but I've been following it. It sounds like he is starting to get better. It sounds like he's starting to breathe on his own a little bit. But I did just want to touch on it, saying it was pretty crazy to see. Like, it was one of those moments watching that you actually kind of felt like, usually you see the guys get, the broken legs and stuff, and you're like, oh man, that would suck. But you see this guy and you see that he's getting CPR on him, and it really makes you connect with the player more than I've ever connected probably with an NFL player in my life. It was just a really scary moment, and I just hope the guy pulls through. I really do, not just for himself and his family, but just for his teammates and coaches. It just affects a lot of people, and this one's for Hamlin here. Crack him if you got him, buddy.
Crack 'em if you got 'em.
Crack 'em if you got 'em.
All right.
Well, and just like an Eagles fan, as you're giving a nice heartfelt thing
me a
towards
bitch or something?
No, they're just there's an Eagles fan in here trashing Ikran Flowers.
Do you expect anything else?
No.
If you were going to say there's one fan base in here right now beaking, well, we're doing a heartfelt message to Hamlin. What fan base would you expect?
Yeah.
The shit goals. So
Eagles.
That's pretty much.
Hey man, we saw how the Eagles respond to a loss. I mean, that one kid with the stupid fucking mustache summed it all up.
Well,
not your mustache.
Not my mustache.
Not your mustache. And let's just say, even last week's loss, the Eagles' social media, like all the people on social media, all the fans, they went nuts last week because, guys, them losing the last couple games against us and then last week against the Saints, well, these little bitches have left the back door open for us, and we might be sneaking in.
And the Giants said that they're coming to play.
The Giants said they're coming to play the Eagles. Man, there's a lot. Okay, this is the crazy thing. It's these last few games of this month, or December, and now falling into 2023. Hey, first show of 2023. Happy New Year's, everybody. Heyo.
Heyo.
But the last few games, there hasn't been much excitement surrounding them, and I'm more excited for the rest of the stuff that's going to happen following the games on Sunday than I am for the actual game against the Commanders.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just excited to see what seed we end up getting in, where the Eagles land. Obviously, we need to beat the Commanders more than anything. Like, doesn't matter win or lose, what anyone else does. You want to go into playoffs with a win. So that's the main thing. But I'm excited to kind of see what ends up happening going forward this Sunday, because the NFL give them some props. They know how to market themselves. They basically have the Cowboys and the Eagles playing at the same time. So you're not going to have a team play the early morning games, win or lose, which then affects the afternoon games. They have both these teams, the Eagles and the Cowboys, playing in the afternoon. So both teams are basically have to go for it and have to play their starter. So bravo NFL, bravo.
And I don't even think they planned it this way. It's funny because you think that there's this conspiracy with some of the games, how they line up, but there's so many storylines in the NFL.
Well, with the
time,
the time though, they did like the time slot, like, because they were all
you're right.
They were all to be announced, right? They were all TBD.
I see what you mean. I was just thinking
TBA.
I was just thinking of the alignment of the teams.
Yeah, no, that's. I mean, they do their best guess, right? They make all the games in the Week 18 divisional matchups.
It's a good guess.
Hoping that a team playing against a division rival is going to make a difference. And
because if you are making a bet on best chance.
Oh yeah,
it's like
it's gonna be.
Yeah, an in-division matchup is much more be much more impactful than not.
Well, think how crazy it would have been if they went Cowboys versus Eagles instead of Cowboys versus Giants and Cowboys versus. Sorry, if they would have went Cowboys versus Eagles instead of Eagles versus Giants, Cowboys versus Commanders, we would essentially be playing for the division.
Yeah,
if they had went. So the week 18 is pretty exciting. There's a bunch to dive in about that. But before we dive into that, I was reading this article on the Landry Hat about Sean Payton, which is going to be this is kind of weird, right? We're 12-4 and I'm talking about Sean Payton, but this is just to kind of silence all the rumors that we've heard about Sean Payton becoming a Cowboys coach. So it was leaked what Sean Payton's trade value is. So Sean Payton's still owned by the Saints. So any team that wants Sean Payton, they're basically going to have to trade the Saints to get him as a head coach. And it was leaked. Sources say that the Saints are expected to ask for a first-round pick for the rights of head coach Sean Payton. And that's according to Adam Schefter. So coming off a 12-4 season, more than likely going to be 12-5, there's no fucking way the Cowboys are trading a first-round pick to acquire Sean Payton as their head coach.
No, look, okay, so like how long does this last? Like how long's he on contract for? Eternity?
Well, it's for next year at least.
Next year, okay.
And he's been rumored that he wants to get back coaching next year. So if he's going to want to coach next year, the only thing that's going to prevent him is the Saints basically saying, "No, we're not getting what we want for him. He's not released from us, or you guys can't get him." Right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it depends on the relationship he has with that organization. Because they could do him a solid and just waive that or lessen it, you know?
Yeah. It also says here for context, the Raiders netted 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders, and $8 million from Tampa Bay for John Gruden.
That was wild.
That is insane. Granted, John Gruden then ended up winning them a Super Bowl.
Oh, right.
But that's a pretty crazy. That's like trading for Russell Wilson.
I mean,
that's rad.
I just don't see a coach's value being that high anymore. I don't know. It seems like there's just too many. The talent pool's gotten so much better.
Yeah.
And we see these young coaches coming in now. Like,
well, you don't have to be a 45 to 50-year-old head coach that's been put through the ringer. Like, you got all these guys in their mid-30s that are doing great as head coaches. They're doing very the dorky guy in the Dolphin. What's that guy's name? Mike. What the hell's his name, Ad? Mike, the dorky guy from the Dolphins.
Oh, Mike McDaniels.
Mike McDaniels, and then you have the Rams, McVay, and you have San Fran's head coach. He's been great. Shanahan. Like, there's a bunch of young coaches that you don't need to be this 50-year-old, 45-year-old guy anymore. Stud. Like, and you don't need, like you said, if they're only talking about Sean Payton netting a first-round pick compared to what Gruden did 20 years ago, then they're basically...
I see. Yeah.
All even is saying it's worth it, and coaches matter, AJ. You're bugging.
Oh, they definitely matter, but...
I'm not saying they don't matter, but if you're thinking about expending a first-round pick...
Coming off a 12-5 season, or 13-4 season.
I mean, really, anyway, I just... Those picks are just way too valuable. The value in my eyes is that number one pick. I guess it depends. If you have a number one pick and you're fucking 31st... or something like that, then maybe big deal. But still, it's a huge... there's too many good players. I just think that you'd have to find really high value. I don't think Sean Payton's it. I think that there are similar opportunities out there, and the first round pick is just better spent getting a player who can suit a need.
Yeah, I think I agree. I'd way rather take a player on an established team, which we have right now. Adding a player to this team in the first round is more important than us going out there, especially coming off of back-to-back playoff years and back-to-back over 12 wins.
Well, that you're absolutely right. I think if you're looking at a team that is struggling for the season and they don't have the foundation there, then you need to have a coach come in and go through the rebuilding, and you pay more for a Sean Payton to set you up 2-3 years from now, not when we're already in a position where we could get to the Super Bowl.
If you make that argument and you believe that the Cowboys will be either rebuilding or going into some sort of rebuilding phase, then okay. I think there's more I could give personally. I'd be like more leeway towards leaning to that. But I mean, in the situation that I see, I mean, unless you're closing the door next year on the Cowboys with what they have, I mean, all in all, the shittiest thing to be is stuck in mediocrity. So I think you got to pick one way or the other, and not kind of put both feet in the door, because you don't want to get stuck in like 10 to 15 every single year.
Yeah.
The only way that Mike McCarthy isn't the head coach for the Cowboys is if in the wild card we get absolutely the only way, and even then I still think he'll probably be around. But if he gets like beat 50-0, is the only way I see them firing Mike McCarthy. I just can't see the Cowboys moving on from a head coach that is the first head coach to get them to back-to-back playoff years and back-to-back 12 over 12 wins in back-to-back seasons. It just doesn't make sense. And then if they did move on from Mike McCarthy, I just can't see them trading a first-round pick to get Sean Payton. Anyways, that's what we're going to touch on that. Let's talk about Week 18, and let's talk about how the Cowboys can possibly get the first seed, possibly the second seed, but more than likely we're going to be snug at the 5th seed. So I have a couple scenarios here. I have the first seed scenarios, what we'd have to do, the second seed, and then what would happen if we stayed at the 5th seed.
Is that a blog?
No, I just made a picture up. So first seed. So for the Cowboys to get this first seed, obviously the Cowboys have to win. The Giants need to beat the Eagles, and the Cardinals need to beat the 49ers. So that's not only do we have to take care of business and smoke the Washington Commanders, we need to have the Giants beat up on a Eagles team that's probably going to have Jalen Hurts back, who's definitely going to be trying to get something rolling going into playoffs. And then a Cardinals team that's basically mailed it in has to play against one of the best teams in the NFL, the 49ers. The 49ers are going to be fighting back because they have a chance to secure the first seed. First seed looks almost, I'm not going to say impossible, but first seed almost looks out of reach at this point.
Yeah, but with a win and a loss, doesn't that put us... No, you mean first seed overall.
For us to get the first seed.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that need to fall perfectly in place.
It's not just winning, you got it. You got to win, and then you need two very good football teams to lose.
Right.
One of those good football teams needs to lose to an inferior opponent. Like the 49ers losing to the Cardinals. I could see the Giants beating the Eagles.
Yeah.
But the Cardinals beating the 49ers, I don't think we're seeing it. If we get the first seed, obviously we get a first round bye. We make it right to the divisional round. The second seed. Now this is more plausible. All we need to get the second seed is the Cowboys take care of business and beat the Washington Commanders, and then the Giants beat the Eagles.
Then we're number 2.
We get a home game. We pretty much get home field throughout the playoffs until we play the first seed. If the first seed gets knocked out, then you basically have home field until the Super Bowl. So second seed's still good, but there's a kicker. If we get the second seed, there's a very realistic chance we play Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. And we all know how the Cowboys have been the last 2 times they played against Aaron Rodgers in playoffs.
Well, who do you want? Between Brady and Rodgers, which are both, I'm not going to say they're Cowboy killers, but between Brady and Rodgers, who do you think we have a better shot at?
The way I look at it, if you want to be a Super Bowl team, you have to be able to beat either of those guys.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would like to have the home field. The Cowboys haven't lost in AT&T Stadium this year. So I would like for them to have home field. And I would like to see us beat Aaron Rodgers at home. I think we're the better football team. I think we're the better football team than the Packers and the Bucs. We should be able to beat both of them, but there's this stigma about both those quarterbacks.
Well,
we have a hard time against them.
Look at how they can both just automatically just turn up.
Yeah.
Well, that's the scary thing.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers this weekend and Brady this week. Both of them this weekend, it's like, okay, well, I guess either one of them are going to pose major issues for us because it can be a lot of this mental game going into it. We don't win against these two quarterbacks.
And hopefully we would get over that mountaintop. The other 2 teams that we could possibly play if we had the second seed would be the Detroit Lions and the Seattle Seahawks, which both those teams are obviously a favorable matchup. And this is why the second seed's important, because you are going to play against a less caliber opponent. But more than likely, if we get the second seed, it's going to be against Green Bay. If Green Bay wins, I'm pretty sure they're in. So it's Green Bay versus Detroit, Week 18. So whoever wins out of that game And if we get second seed, that's who we play. So we'll know this. I'm pretty sure they're the night game. So we'll know this. We'll have our games already done, and then we'll be able to watch that game. And if we're second seed,
feel Mr. Campbell and the Lions can take Rodgers down.
You feel it?
I feel it.
And that's a divisional matchup, and it'll be fun to watch. I'm not sure if it's in Lambeau or in Detroit. I'd have to look at that. But that's how we get the second seed. The fifth seed, which we have right now, if the Eagles win or Cowboys lose, we're in the fifth seed. And playing the Buccaneers no matter what. The Bucs have already secured the fourth seed. If the Cowboys lose or the Eagles win, we're fifth seed. And we'll be traveling to Tampa Bay to see Tom Brady and the Bucs, who did explode last week and who, like Ad said, Tom Brady has been a Cowboys killer. The Cowboys have never beat Tom Brady. So it would be kind of nice to send him into retirement with a loss. To be honest, I would love to see it. So those are kind of our spots that we can end up in the playoffs. And if I had to pick, obviously a first round bye would be sweet because it gets us automatically to the divisional. But I just want home games. So first or second seed would be ideal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it looks here there is a chance to play the Seahawks too.
Yeah, Green Bay, Detroit, or Seattle.
Right. And so, I mean.
So possibility, if we're in the second seed, the three teams, Green Bay, Detroit, or Seattle.
Yeah, I just heard Detroit and Packers.
Do you want me to do? I put your screen up and it's nice and yellow right now.
Oh, shit. Let me fix that.
You got the year-end screen going. What do we got? Anyone in chat chiming in?
Just that stupid Eagles fan keeps.
I don't even give him the time of day. Fuck them.
So EJ Savage says, I really hope the Seahawks lose and it's a win or a go home game for Sunday Night Lions versus Packers.
That's what we'd love to see too.
And then Jeremiah says, I think that I trust the Cowboys on the road.
We've only lost on the road, though. All four losses have been... Oh, sorry. No, we did lose. We did lose to the Bucs week 1 at home. So we've lost once at home, and we've lost 3 times on the road.
Yeah, well, more importantly, it's about playing a good football game week 18 here.
Yep.
To jump ahead, to be quite honest, I'm comfortable with the Cowboys playing all of those teams. I think Tom Brady has shown... I mean, as much as I agree, you don't want to face Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs. It's still every year, every game is a little bit more age. I think that we should have had Green Bay. There was key mistakes there that cost us the game. And with the Buccaneers, it's a different football team. Every football team's different from week 1 to week 18. So I just hope that we improved enough that we can come in there and smack them, because we did get smacked around, but it's certainly the Bucs definitely look like they have digressed more than improved throughout the season.
If you think you're going to be a Super Bowl champion, any of those 6 other NFC teams, you have to be able to beat them. You can't be scared of them. You have to be able to beat them.
That's what EJ says. He goes, either way you look at it, we have to exercise. He says exercise, but he wants to say exercise some demons to make it to Super Bowl, either Tampa Bay, Packers, or 49ers. We have to go through
one of those teams. And and that's not even us talking about once you get into the divisional round, who you're playing. They're all scary. Like every team has great. That's why they're in the playoffs.
And then so one other comment here, which I agree with Justin V. If Dak can't fix his turnovers, we done again by divisional. It's going to make it tough. I don't think we'll be completely done if Dak can throw a turnover, and turnovers can happen, and we can still succeed, which we have at times. But yeah, Dak needs to get those demons out of his fucking bucket before we make it to before we head into the playoffs. And then 1503 Josu Martinez says, so if we go to Tampa and we beat them, who would you rather play the next game?
I honestly, at that point, we're 1-0 in the playoffs. Bring anyone on. Bring anyone on. Anyone left is going to be tough. You're either going to be playing the Eagles or the 49ers, which they're both going to, if the Eagles get the first bye, you're going to have one of those teams in the divisional. So it's not going to get easier. It's only going to get harder. So get battle tested and then prepare for it. But before we get to the playoffs, we got to beat these Washington Commanders, guys.
This loser?
And
that's right. And I was just pulling up their our last game against them.
Yep. Okay. Oh shit! I don't even have my TV on, guys. So AJ, while you're going through that, I'm just gonna get my tube going here.
Oh yeah, no wonder. So yeah, I was like, oh, you haven't said anything when it wasn't working, and I was like, I just maybe thought that it wasn't working there for you.
What the hell did you just say?
It sounded like nothing to me. So big storyline coming out, and actually I made a post on the Instagram at Cowboys Can Fan for anyone that's looking around for Instagram. I made a post about Dak Prescott's record versus Carson Wentz without knowing Wentz had been benched for this game and Sam Howell is going to be starting for the Washington Commanders. So we're going up against another unknown, guys. He's a rookie, hasn't started a game in the NFL. We just played against the rocket scientists last week, and now we're playing against Sam Howell that has no tape in the NFL on him. Does this worry you guys a little bit?
It always worries me, man. I mean, like same thing goes. Less is worse. Especially with me, I'm still not feeling great about the I'm still not feeling great about the hang on, I'm getting distracted here.
Now you guys know what it's like.
My bad, yeah. I'm still not feeling great.
Sorry.
Well, I just want to make sure you can understand what I'm saying and also giving myself a couple seconds here.
Here,
No.
I'll just go. You talk to him. I'll get it going.
Okay.
I already got it.
Oh, boom. Booyakasha.
Anyways.
Okay, rewind. With these quarterbacks that don't have a lot of footage on, I'm still not feeling really strong, confident in the defense. Still feel like we're on some shaky legs out there. Hopefully this long week gave everyone a nice rest, and we can come out there and Hundy P, and it won't be a problem.
Hundy P, baby.
I'd love to see, exactly. Maybe I'll have a look at this kid, what he looked like in college and what kind of college player he was. But you can bet almost any new quarterback has some rushing potential to them. So definitely got to make sure that we keep that under wraps, because that's what's been big. That's one aspect of how they've been able to beat us on the ground, is utilizing that quarterback run game.
So the one thing that scares me is we're going to be going into the postseason having played the rocket scientist and now Sam Howell. We're going to be going against these two unknown quarterbacks to then possibly playing against Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. That's what kind of makes me nervous.
Right. Well, so you go from either two quarterbacks with the most footage on them to a bunch of quarterbacks who have little to none.
No, yeah, none. Go from none guys that have no footage to then Rodgers and Brady in the postseason. So I guess at least you have something you could look at.
I mean, if you're a football team, you are going to go out there and you're going to deal with it, and we know our Cowboys can do that. So.
Shit. Them boys are having the time of their lives.
We do have our guest here on the line.
Boys is having the time of their lives. Shit.
Oh, sorry, Alex.
Geez, you doubled down.
I doubled downed it.
Did you just double soundbite him?
I doubled downed it. Yeah.
Never double soundbite it, bro.
Are we bringing him on?
Well, yeah. If you want to, give the intro, and then we'll bring him in.
Sure. We are joined here by Sam Leaf, NFL agent and director of NFL NIL marketing for, and I hope I get this name right, Ballengee Group. Sam has been in the sports management industry for 10 years as a representative for NFL players, NIL, which I think is name, image, likeness, and a handful of WWE talent. Sam, how was it? Did I get everything correct?
Yeah, it's Ballengee Group, and you are correct. It's name, image, and likeness. But the real victory is, did someone just quote Varsity Blues right before I came on? Did I catch that?
Yeah, you got it. Nice, you got it.
Okay, my kind of group of guys. Yeah, we're off to a good start. Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks for being on.
Doing well.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. Exciting to have you. Our point of having this podcast is to eventually get to talk to guys like you and kind of figure out a part of the NFL that not most fans know about. Like, obviously, we don't know much about the agent world, so it's awesome to have you here, and it's definitely going to show some fans out there what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll try to keep it interesting, try to make it exciting for you guys as possible, but was definitely glad to get on, and hopefully I can do a good job kind of providing that perspective from the management agent role, because it is a year-round job for us, whether it's the season or the off season. And, I speak for, a lot of the agents in the industry. It's a tough grind, man. It's not an easy job. And there's a lot of guys and gals in this industry that are super passionate about representing players and helping these guys really make the most of their time in the NFL. And you need to have a passion to be successful in this field, because you could go and, you could take the time and effort that, you put into being an agent. And if you think about it, we have no control over the outcome, right? Because we're not the ones putting on the cleats. We're not the ones out there on Sunday, so it's a interesting job to, put forth all of this effort and really have no control over the outcome. You just kind of got to hope for the best and, be ready regardless of whatever happens.
I have a question about that. Like, so obviously, did you know this was a passion at a young age? Like, how did you get involved with this? Was it something that you thought in high school, you were like, you know what, I'm a big sports guy. I have a personality. I'd like to manage people. Like, was it something from an early age, or did you have a different career path and then fall into that?
Yeah, no, unfortunately it was not, this is the last thing I ever thought I would be doing, to be honest. I played football myself, so I was an offensive lineman in college, and
Nice.
tried to do the NFL thing for about a year. Didn't quite work, pan out. And, like a lot of other football players and college athletes or guys that, go pro, you struggle to kind of figure out what your identity is, once your playing career is over. And for me, I thought I was going to go pursue working in entertainment. And that's exactly what I ended up doing when I first got done playing and got done with colleges. I was, pursuing a lot of entertainment work, working a lot of production jobs. And I had a lot of friends that were in the NFL. And you got to understand, this is 10 years ago. So the landscape looked completely different than what it did, today. Really, the biggest thing is the social media and the marketing. But because I worked in entertainment, I had a lot of friends that were in the NFL that thought I would be able to help them out with some stuff away from the field. And, in essence, what they were looking for basically was PR help and marketing help,
Right.
But because I worked in entertainment, they thought I would be able to help out with that. That kind of forced me to come back around the industry from this side. And I kind of fell in love with it early on, and just thought it was a good fit. And, 10 years later, we're still here. So, that's kind of how I got here. I wasn't anything that I planned, but I'm blessed to be where I'm at, for sure.
Well, I feel like if you've passed the decade mark, I feel like if you can make it past 10 years, you're going to be doing it for the next 30 or 40. So that's awesome. It's sweet that you ended up finding a niche for yourself. Like, and it's cool to see that you started off in the entertainment. And let's be realistic, the NFL is probably the best entertainment out there. So it feels like your skills are just suited perfectly for that.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, you're right. It is entertainment. And I think that, what caused me to get in entertainment in the first place is I felt kind of had like that creative twitch. I mean, you guys have that clearly, for you guys to take the time out of your guys' busy life to, to be dedicated and committed to a podcast is not easy, right? And so, like, you guys can relate to that, where like some people, you just have that creative twitch, right? And for me, it never went anywhere. And I look at my work as an agent, and really on the marketing side, which consists of everything away from the field, right? That's what we just consider marketing. I'm able to apply those creative muscles to my clients, or someone like a Travis Etienne, who's like, the running back of the Jaguars. Obviously, I've never been a running back. I've never been a first round pick. I didn't, catch balls from Trevor Lawrence in college. But, I do find joy in looking at it from a creative aspect, where it's almost like, okay, if I was Travis, what would I do, right? Or like, if I was in his position, how would I want to make these moments count, right? And being able to apply that creativeness, is a fun thing in this industry.
And sorry, when you said Travis, you meant Neville or Osa?
No, Travis Etienne. This isn't a Jaguars podcast, bro.
That's the first name that came out. My bad. But for Osa is my number one guy. Like, that is my guy right there. If you ever get a chance to meet him, you guys will learn pretty quickly why. Like, he is a special athlete and a really special guy away from the field. Like, we presented him like he was a running back from day one.
Awesome.
When we were going through the pre-draft process, there were not other D linemen that were doing the same opportunities that he was, whether on the marketing side or the PR side or the media side. We really understood that we had somebody where you could put him in a room and he's going to light up the room. You could put him on camera and he's going to be able to hold his own. And a good manager is going to understand what a client's attributes are, and put them in position to succeed. But my bad on that. My bad.
And so just real quick, the roster that we have from you is Osa. I always get these names wrong.
Odighizuwa.
Yeah. Neville. Or is it Neville or Neville?
Gallimore.
Neville.
Canadian
Neville
boy,
Gallimore,
Canadian boy, shout out.
Travis Etney Jr. And then Adam, you might know some of these wrestlers. Sonya Deville.
Yep.
And Mandy Rose.
Yep.
So I'm just wondering, and you don't have to obviously give us any sort of number figures, but like how important is it now for sports athletes? Because obviously they get paid, we see all the large amount of money that athletes get paid, but that's, if you look at the average wage, it's a lot lower than like, say, what all the stars are making, and it's still a lot of money. They get taxed a lot, et cetera, et cetera. So how important is it for them to have like a secondary revenue fund now with the media aspect of it?
Yeah, well, not every player, is going to have, opportunities away from the field, but we do live in a day and age where there's more opportunities now for these guys away from the field than ever before. And once again, it kind of goes back to what I was saying, like a good manager is going to, I believe everyone's marketable, whether you're Osa or whether, you're Neville, like you said, he's a Canadian boy, right? Like he was actually born in Jamaica, grew up in Canada, and played for Oklahoma. That right there, those are three different marketing angles that we can pursue to generate opportunities. Now, obviously, he's not going to get a Gillette commercial. He's not going to be the face of Gatorade, or anything like that. But, we have pursued Canada to find opportunities for him there. We've leveraged the Oklahoma brand to try to make sure he maintains a presence in Norman. And actually this summer, he's going to be doing a football camp in Jamaica with a couple organizations. And for him, like, you got to understand what a big deal that is. Not only is he getting paid to go back to Jamaica, but he's going back to his home country to share, his talent and his success with a generation that are going to look up to him.
Yeah, awesome.
So everyone's marketable in this day and age. It's just a matter of rolling up the sleeves and getting it done. But you got to remember that a lot of these guys, like, there is a big drop off. Like, there's the top 5% that, like, I consider like are the crossover, like the Stephon Diggs of the world, the Tom Brady's of the world, right? Like those guys away from the field, like, man, it's ridiculous what they're making. And if you think about it, like their player contract, those are 4 or 5 years long. Those things are locked in. You're not going to get $1 more away, more than what's on those pieces of paper, regardless, unless it's like a bonus. Where on the marketing side, if you're savvy enough and you know how to, make your moments count and try to hijack moments and to try to create opportunities when your players have these moments, like the possibilities are endless, right? Like someone like a DK Metcalf, right? Or, Deebo Samuels. Like, think about Deebo the last year, what his run, and then what that would equate to opportunities away from the field.
Well, we were kind of talking prior to that. Like, we were talking about, and you had touched a little bit on it, how 10 years ago, these players didn't have the social media part of it, right? So I feel like how much does that help you guys in exploring new areas to market your guys' self? That's got to be a huge tool for you guys.
Yeah, it helps and it hurts at the same time. Like, if you have a player that has a couple 100,000 followers, right, or he's got a large presence and he's got like a great engagement ratios, that guy, it's going to help you. But if you have a gentleman, who's killing it on the field, right? He's killing it on the stat line. Everyone in Baltimore knows who he is, but he's only got 15,000 followers. It hurts you, because what these brands want to look for is, like, they don't care anymore that it's an NFL player, right? Like, being an NFL player to these brands, it's not enough for them.
Wow.
What they're looking for is, if you put our brand on your page, how many people can we expect that are going to click on it and learn about our brand because of you or because of our affiliation with you? At the end of the day, that's where it is. 10 years ago, you're right. Like, it was almost cookie cutter back then, right? Like, you had these 10 to 15 companies, and those were the only 10 to 15 companies to go after. And those guys were only interested in probably 10 to 15 guys to begin with. And then everyone else was kind of just out in the cold, where now, like, this is the first example that came to my head, like Hyper Ice, right? Like they have Juju Smith-Schuster, right? And like they work with those types of guys. So like you can find a tier 3 version of Hyper Ice or Thorogun, a company that makes the same product but is nowhere near that level, or they're in their brand journey, they're early on into that journey, right? Where they can now use a spokesperson, they can now use someone endorsing their product to elevate their product, to elevate their brand. And so social media helps in making that, number one, a possibility, but two, also it's that's where you find a lot of business, right? That's where you find a lot of brands. Like there's a lot of things that we do that kind of begins with social media. And then when you do get an endorsement deal for an athlete, whether it's an NFL player or an NIL client, which is an entirely different subject, or like a WWE client, every single deal that we have, there is a social media component in it, period.
Sam, since we're crack him if you got him. So
yeah, we like to drink on this show a little bit. So let me get one too. Crack him if you got him, son. Let's go.
It's kind of our trademark, Sam.
No, drink up. I like it.
Since we're on the whole topic of social media and marketing, and obviously as an agent and you forming the relationships with your client, when you look at when your clients are sitting there, and if, like you said, there's only a certain top 5% that'll get, the major dollars coming in certain types of endorsement deals. But then when you have players that are sitting back, and we see this kind of social media push, or anybody can kind of go direct to fans, and you have a guy like Pat McAfee, or the guys on Bussing with the Boys, or even some of the more notable shows like I Am Athlete, where they're creating these podcast platforms because it's commoditized now, where you can go on a YouTube and any fans can, like us or like ourselves, create a show around a specific topic. Do you find a lot of your clients are trying to maybe getting into podcasting or starting their own media brand online, not just social media posts, working with brands, but like creating something over the next 5-6 years? Are those discussions that you find yourselves and your team talking to your clients about?
It not as much as you would think, only because it takes a certain type of guy to be able to do that, right? Like Pat McAfee is a perfect example, right? Like that dude's printing money right now, and all power to him. It's pretty awesome to see the run that he's been having and what he's been able to do. But Osa is actually a guy where there is a passion for broadcasting, and there's a passion. He wants his own podcast, right? But like that, I would say he's probably the only current client that we have that we're currently having those discussions on. And we're having those discussions with him because it's a passion for him. Like Jalen Phillips, who's a outside linebacker or DN for the Miami Dolphins, that's Osa Odighizuwa's best friend. And actually this off season, they shot a couple pilots, whatever you want to call it, of a podcast that we kind of shopped around to see if we can get, like an Action Park Media or Complex, someone like that, to pick up Spring Hill Entertainment. Yep. And so for them, but it was something that they both want to do. Like, I don't know why my brain's going to this. Like, he's not a client, but like, if you have someone like Kendrick Bourne, who's the wide receiver for the New England Patriots, he was in San Francisco. A guy like that, like those conversations are going to be had, right? Even if he doesn't want to do it, only because it's like he's got such an electric personality. He's got such a charismatic personality, where some of these guys, like, man, they don't even want to do the interviews after the game. You know what I mean? Let alone to host their own. So it's like, if there's a passion there, but like my dream is to like have a someone like a Pat McAfee, and just to have a canvas like that, and just to be able to kind of see what you can create, because we are in a time of the industry where it's really kind of like the wild, wild west. Like you said, there isn't just one way of doing it. And there's so much access to these players, which I think is a good thing and a bad thing, right?
Absolutely.
It's like back when, in the 90s and the early 2000s, man, pro athletes used to be on a pedestal, right? Because it's like you didn't have so much access to them. Like you couldn't, hear their thoughts on a daily basis. And so like when they came into your town, or if you ran into them at a steakhouse, you know what I mean, or at an NBA game, it was a big deal. Where now someone like a Logan Paul, You know what I mean? Or like
Yep.
an Addison Ray, like those type of people have way more influence than the average, NFL Pro Bowler, not even just NFL player,
Yep.
but
Right.
someone on like Pro Bowl level.
Definitely. I completely agree with that. Like social media gives you kind of an inside access to your favorite athlete. Like I'm basically Des Bryant's best friend because I follow him on Twitter, like you basically get to see every aspect. I got kind of a fun question for you. And we got to go back to week 15, Cowboys at Jaguars. And you got a couple of your guys on the field playing against each other there. And I just need to know what it's like. Are you like a stressed out parent watching their two kids play? Like, take us through Etienne playing against Neville Gallimore and Osa, and like what your day's like coming up to that game.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's easier when you're at home. If you're in the stadium and you happen to be sitting and both families are there, that's when it gets interesting, right? That's when it gets awkward. But for that Jags game, and you got to give credit to the Jacksonville, they're really playing some good football. And it was funny, Osa's got like such an old school mentality, Neville too, but Osa's really built like he was made for the 80s. Like he's currently getting a massage, right? Like this dude is working on his body 5-6 days a week. Like it's insane. And it was funny, like leading up to that Jags game, I was like, hey, Osa, like number one, like just, make sure you don't hurt him, or, you know what I mean? Just like be careful. And, Osa's response is like, I'm gonna break him in half. You know what I mean?
There we go.
Like, I'm gonna break him in half and let him know that that's from Sam, and that's Osa. And another quick, funny Osa story, when they played in Minnesota, I have an offensive lineman who's a rookie there for the Vikings. And I was at that game, and, I was going to be on the field before the game, and, Osa knew who he was. Right. And I was like, Osa, like, you think we can, maybe set it up to get a pick of the three of us, before the game? And Osa's like, he's like, what position does he play? Already knowing what position he plays. I was like, he's an O lineman, Osa. And he's like, yeah. He's like, I'm sorry, man. I can't do it. And he refused to take the photo, where a lot of the times, like, it's all in good fun. It is fun to kind of see them go against each other. Our agency, we represent like 34 NFL players. So Patrick Queen is another guy on our roster. Kevin Dotson, who's the left guard of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And on Sunday Night Football this last week, I was watching them bang heads for like 4 quarters. And it's like, I'm wondering, like, is there conversation in between the plays? Like, you know what I mean? Are they acknowledging it? But I think to them, like, when they're out playing in an NFL game, I think the last thing they're thinking about is their agent, and let alone their agent's feelings or whatever their agent.
And if they are saying anything, you're like, man, I hope they're saying good shit.
yeah, exactly. But I think they all know of each other. But that Jags one was interesting, just because that was a little bit of a mismatch, man. If either one of those guys were able to wrap up on him, that's quite a big weight difference. But luckily, everyone got out of it okay, safely. But we had last thing. I'm sorry, I'm so long-winded. We have
please,
love it.
We love it.
We have 5 guys that play for the Texans, and including Derek Stingley Jr., who's the number 3 overall pick, Christian Harris, who's killing it right now. He's a middle linebacker rookie from Alabama, and a couple other guys, Garrett Wallow, Austin Deculus. And so we had all the families at AT&T Stadium for that, Texans Cowboys game. And I'm not going to lie, I wish we had a video camera in the suite, because if you guys remember, it was a close game.
We remember. It was close. It was way closer than it needed to be, I feel like. But yeah, it was definitely a close game.
It was close, and it was a lot closer than anyone thought. And like at the end, there was like a nice little climax. And in the suite, it got divided real quick. Quick, and it got really intense amongst the families. And then the game was over, like everyone was shaking hands and hugging each other. Like you would have thought that they were just walking off the field. And I was like, these are the moments that like need to be captured, right? Because these are the moments that kind of make all the BS and all the shit you deal with in this industry worth it, when like you can see a moment like that. But it was fun. Like that was a day I'll never forget, because we had Osa's family in there, Neville Gallimore's family in there. Neville Gallimore's fiance is very outspoken, so it was a fun moment. It was definitely a fun moment. It was just kind of funny to see, it got real in there real quick. It got real tight in there real quick. So was good stuff.
Oh, sorry, I was pointing at Anth. I thought you had something.
Oh no,
okay.
no! You thought I had to. No, you go.
No,
You got one.
that is hilarious. It's almost worth a little docu-series on the side of like just the families and one of the big thing that I think brought me in, because a little behind baseball here. Me and Adam are new Cowboys fans. Well, 2 years now, but we started with Anth here, who has been a long time Cowboys fan and was doing his own podcast. Adam and Anth are brothers. I'm basically an adopted brother. True. By force, and we started this cast about 2 years ago, and have just been kind of growing it. And I can't remember where I was going with that.
Yeah, well, I thought it was like a heartfelt story, like you're wanting to get Sam Leaf on our side, he's already on our side because he's on our show right now.
Yeah, trust me, I'm already thinking about trying to get you guys connected with Osa and getting him on to be an entire episode.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, one of our members in our live chat right now sent a super chat so they can pay to have a comment kind of get posted up, and they're like, get him to call Osa or Neville right now and see if we could get a Cowboy the first time a Cowboys player on the cast.
I'm thinking, don't scare him away, guys. Don't start scaring him away.
I remembered what it was. Sorry.
Okay, let's hear it.
Yeah, let's hear it.
The whole long rant was, that's what got me. Like, at first I was just coming on to produce, but then what brought me on was the Hard Knocks coincided with the season last year for the Cowboys. So it was like this huge, I swear you would fall in love with any team if you had to watch these kind of Hard Knocks. And
you get to see the guys behind the scenes. You get to see their heartfelt, and definitely.
Like I wasn't a Zeke fan at all. I didn't like him.
Yeah.
But, Cowboys says like, okay, here we go. But then after seeing that episode of Hard Knocks, or those first few episodes of Hard Knocks, like, oh, I love this guy. So it can just getting a little insight, and like you mentioned, social media, good or bad, it depends on the person, I guess. But it can really make people fall in love with these.
Well, the main thing that the Cowboys do about sounds from the sidelines, and Osa's usually has some pretty funny parts on that. So you only get a glimpse of his personality from these sounds of the sidelines, and the guy seems like he's fucking hilarious. Yeah. Just from the sounds of the sidelines.
He's one of a kind, and like his teammates know it. And those sound bites are pretty good. He just did and see, I think that's an example of like, and they love him in Dallas. When I say Dallas, like the front office, like they really, really like him quite a bit. And when Dan Quinn came in, that was one of the first, him and Micah Parsons, those were his guys, right? You look at that draft class from 2021, and a lot of those defensive players that came in, those were Dan Quinn's first guys, right? Like those are the guys that he brought in, and they really do love him. But I think now coming up on wrapping up year 2, Dallas is starting to realize what it is that they got. Like the same thing with Dak, right? Like you see what he's doing in the community. You see what he's doing with a lot of his charities. Like you're going to lean into that as an organization. You've got a D lineman that's personable and funny. You're going to tap into that because it's like, it's not a running back, right? It's not CeeDee Lamb. It's not one of the guys that touch the ball. It is a really unique thing. And let's set it up to try to get him. And we should probably talk about this off air, but let's get it set up. Let's get it set up to get him in there with you guys. And I think you guys would have a hell of a time with them, and I think everyone in the chat rooms as well would, especially the ones that are paying to chat, would have a good time. And I see the hustle. I like it.
Yeah, well, we appreciate it, man. That's amazing. I have another kind of a funny question. It's not to do with anything that's actually real life. I got to ask you. Are you a Jerry Maguire guy, or are you the Ballers type sports agent? So you got The Rock, or are you Tom Cruise in behind the scenes?
Man, sadly, I'm neither, man. I don't know.
I think that's a good answer.
Yeah, those are two hard ones. I definitely don't have The Rock's clothes, and I definitely don't have Tom Cruise's teeth or that side profile. So. I don't know where I'm at on that one. Maybe ask me in a couple years, but I'll give Ballers credit. I thought that there was a lot of shit that was kind of bullshit in there, but
of course,
I thought they did a good job with some of the little things, like really kind of tapping into like how things are. And they did a really good job, I think, painting a picture of what life as a pro athlete is now, because it is different than what it was 10, 15 years ago. You know what I mean? Like Troy Polamalu's and that whole group, like in the Ray Lewis's, like those guys were mega stars. Can you imagine like what they would be like if they were at their peak now and with all of these tools and all of these assets that are at their disposal? It's a different ball game.
Way different ball game. I even with like Ballers, it still probably doesn't truly show the landscape of what's going on right now with media, social media, and how things are constantly evolving with the game, specifically because of that direct interaction with the fans and the athletes, right? So I got a question. So Anth asked the Jerry Maguire Ballers question. What's like one misconception that people have about sports agents? So when they find out that you're a sports agent, what is like one question that you always get from them that you always seem to correct, if any?
For sure, the percentages that we take. They're shocked when they learn what it is that we're earning.
You take a lot more than they think, hey?
I wish, bro. I wish. It's when you, because NFL, it's standard, it's 3% is the max percent that you can take from their contract.
Crazy.
People, that's like the number one thing that you're correcting. You know what I mean? And it's like, I think a lot of people, when they hear agent, they automatically think you're like a baller, right? They really think like you're The Rock or you're Jerry Maguire.
Right.
You got to correct them and show them your freaking wardrobe and show them your bank account and let them know that you're neither, but you go to bed with a big smile on your face. And I think there are a lot of guys that do earn a good living from being an agent. And if you do this right and you understand kind of the landscape, there is money to be made. But I think the percentages are like the biggest thing that people have a misconception of. Like they're assuming it's like entertainment where you're taking like 10, 20%. You know what I mean? Like our NFL, we take the least. It's 3%. NBA, MLB, they're taking 5%. And if you think about it, our guys, when I say our guys, NFL players, they're getting paid the least. They have the shortest careers, and we're taking the smallest percentage.
Right.
We're like MLB, sorry, like the dudes, the relief pitchers, the dudes that come in 2 innings. Yeah. You know what I mean? Are getting like $8-9 million a year. Yeah. Like just to pitch twice a week. Like it's crazy.
So I thought it might be, hey, show me the money.
How often does that get said to you? Show me the money. That must get said all the time.
The Jerry Maguire thing, like in the date, if you date girls, right, and they learn you're an agent, they automatically like, oh, I watch Jerry Maguire. Oh, are you like Jerry Maguire? It's like, man, if I had a dime every time I heard that, I wouldn't need to be an agent anymore.
Well, when you're going back on the Jerry, like, so when you, like, obviously as a casual fan, not really understanding the sports agent world and how it works, when you're working with a team of people at your agency, is it like you have your roster and you're kind of like fighting for that talent, or is it like a team effort where there's multiple agents that are repping a core group of talent on your roster?
Yeah, every agency is different. So for the most part, most agencies are kind of each individual agent's in there and they kind of manage their own roster and they kind of do their own thing, and then they use the support staff as they need it, right? For us at Ballengee, it really is a group effort. There's 4 NFL agents there, and we're on all 4 agents are on every paperwork. Nice. And each agent and each person has a role within that. Like for me, my role within, I'm an agent, number one, but like my secondary role is marketing. And the endorsement side, that's definitely what I bring to the table, and that's the value that I have. But yeah, each agent does bring something different to the table. Like right now, we're just wrapping up our 2023 draft class, right? Like we're signing guys that just got done playing in bowl games a couple of years ago. And they're starting to train right now. A couple of them are training out here in Dallas, which is why I came out here. And so it's like in the early stages, like when we just get these guys and, it's really a team effort, and some players will migrate towards certain agents, or certain agents will have a different type of relationship with that player. And then they end up kind of becoming the point person, right? Just because that's what's most comfortable for that player and their family, but it is a team effort at Ballengee. And that's probably like my favorite thing about this agency is the fact that, and you got to remember, I'm a football player, so I was an old lineman. I came up on the team aspect, that playing a role and executing that role is just kind of how I've come up. So,
Right.
So with saying that, because you kind of mentioned you guys all have certain roles and you have certain skills to bring to the table, but you get players like Lamar Jackson who go the route of not deciding to have an agent. Like, what would be the benefit? Crack him if you got him over there. What would be the benefit for him to have an agent versus not having an agent? Because I never understood. Is he just trying to? Obviously, he's trying to represent himself, but it feels like guys like yourself who are literally putting, I don't know, probably 15 to 20-hour days in to represent these guys and find every single aspect for them and opportunity. Like, I just don't understand why he wouldn't want to have you, like, someone represent him. But what do you think about players that decide to go that route?
Yeah, every player's different, right? And every scenario's different, and their journeys are different. I would never recommend a player not being represented by an agent. You know, if you look at Lamar, and thank God this hasn't happened, but can you imagine if maybe something did happen in his career where there was a big injury, or they did try to, get rid of him, or did, all of these things that would happen? What would be his line of defense?
Yeah.
What would be the first line of defense? And people need to understand, like, how the role of agents even were created. Players have an obligation to try to get every single penny that they can. Front office have an obligation to try to replace you every single day and not give you one penny more than they have to. And so, like, can you imagine if the player dealt with the front office directly every single time and every single player? There would be so much resentment. Yep. Where the role of the agent really became almost the broker, right? You're the go-between. You're the one that's like, a front office member is going to negotiate differently with me than as if they were, negotiating directly with Lamar Jackson. And I don't know Lamar. I don't know his situation. But even though he's not represented by an agent, I'm sure there is still some type of legal counsel. There is still some type of sports attorney that is looking over that paperwork and having those conversations with the team, but like for us it's about the CBA, which is the collective bargaining agreement, right? Like, that's the Bible between the players and the owners. And if you don't have an understanding of that and understand how the teams like to use how the teams like to manipulate the CBA into their advantage, you're not going to be able to defend your player, so I would never recommend it, but more power to those guys. Everyone's different. I think there's some cases where some guys made it seem like it was a good thing that they didn't have an agent. I think there were some cases that guys that didn't have an agent and they suffered because of it.
Right.
I have one more kind of serious one here, and then there's a couple fun ones to follow up, but maybe you guys have some other questions too, so we can throw those
Take
up.
us for a ride, AJ. Get us serious and then get us your funnies.
Sure. And Sam, we appreciate your time, so hopefully you can hang on for a little bit longer here.
We're
awesome. So how do you see, like, either the industry or your role as sports agent and also NIL here for the NFL and NIL, how do you see that evolving over the next, 2, 5, 10 years? I mean, you can pick a timeline. You don't have to, like, say each one specifically. I wonder how quickly it might evolve. So maybe it's a 2-year span you're thinking. I'm sure you've thought of this before.
Yeah, we're in the middle of that evolution as we speak. In July 2021, when NIL became official and they allowed players to start making, money off name, image, and likeness, it really changed everything. It changed the industry. And I don't even think the NCAA or these institutions understood the impact that it had on the management side and the agency side. And I don't think anyone could have foreseen it. Because if you think about it, you get on with a player now, and they can, you're no longer recruiting them and telling them all the great things that you're going to do for them. They want to know, what can you do for them? What can you do for me today? What can you produce for me today? And what can you get done for me? Where if you do understand NIL and you know how to use it, it does create an opportunity where now the player gets to learn what it's going to be like to work with you rather than just hear about all the great things that you did. So, like, it's going to continue to change. And it's not just NIL. but the transfer portal, the extra year, when you compound all of those changes, the entire landscape has changed completely. And so I don't know what the industry is going to look like in 2 years. What I can tell you is it's not going to stay the same. We're going to continue to move towards something. And the path is kind of laid out. We see what it is, but like, it's going to get to the point where some of these guys are going to get into college and they're going to already have, they're going to be making 7 figures a year, or they're going to be making more than their offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then the other thing is too, is like, there are a lot of great players where they have phenomenal college careers and then they just don't make it at the next level. I think we're going to start seeing those guys, they're enticed to stick around the NCAA that extra year because they're going to be able to make money. Like, you look at the bowl games, right? This is a bold prediction from my part, but I think we're 1 year to 2 years away from these major bowl games and these major sponsors of these bowl games to start paying these players to play in the bowl games.
Yeah.
Like,
wow.
Like the Fiesta Bowl was, sponsored by PlayStation for the longest time. I think it's Verbo now, right? So it's like PlayStation. You could take $1 million that you were going to give to the University of Iowa or Notre Dame and just cut that up and incentivize these players to start playing. I think we're going to see that here in a couple years. And then the collectives, I don't know if you're familiar with that is, but all of these schools have a company. It's basically a collective, right? Where it's a component that's not necessarily affiliated with the school, but they are somewhat in association with them, that help out with NIL. I think we're going to continue to see the role of the collectives grow even more, where like they're going to now be playing a big role in recruiting. Like, there was a lot of players. The deadline to declare for the draft is January 15th coming up. And there are schools that are offering these players that were, wavering on going to the NFL draft or not, to come back to school. And if you come back to school, our collective is going to be able to guarantee you X amount of dollars in NIL deals. And I'm not talking like 25, 30 grand. Like, we're talking like in the 6 figures. Some of these kids are getting, some crazy offers. But look at it. Look what these rules are able to offer the kids now.
Which makes sense to do that, because like you had said, prior to this and the NCAA not allowing college players to make any money, there is guys that just disappear and just fade out, maybe play a year or two in the NFL and never, ever make a dime off of how great they were in college. And like you said, instead of declaring for the draft, they're going to you're saying they're going to stick around, maybe make $1 million or a couple million in their college careers, and then set themselves up for life no matter what, basically, if they become NFL stars or not.
Yeah, basically 100%. Like, there are so many guys every year that were All-Americans this year that are not going to play a lick in the regular season in the NFL.
Right.
They'll be a 5th round, 6th round draft pick. They'll go to camp. They'll bounce around the league for a couple years, but they'll never make an active 53-man roster. Those types of players, they've now created an opportunity to entice them to stick around a little bit longer. And I think just the fact that we're creating superstars at a younger age, and then when you factor in social media, which I think like on the basketball side, it's going to be affected even more. Like, some people say that we're kind of catching up to basketball, but like, I've got a couple NIL basketball clients that are freshmen in college right now, and they're going to be one and dones. And like, man, they're making more money than a lot of our NFL players. And like, the crazy thing is, early deals that I got them, their parents had to sign the permission slips. The parents,
that's what Alex has to do.
Sign the agreements because they weren't even 18 yet.
Crazy.
And like that to me blew my mind in the beginning. And this is like in early 2022, right? Like,
yep.
I was just, that's so crazy to me that this kid is barely 18 years old or is about to turn 18 years old, and I'm putting 6-figure deals in front of him.
Right.
That's awesome.
Like, wow. It's interesting. Ask me in a couple of years, but I think we're in the middle of that evolution right now, and I think it's going to continue to it's not going to stay the same. It's going to continue to evolve.
One funny clip, and it's not just us, let's be honest. And I don't know if you know the person or not, so you feel free to just plead the fifth on this. But Russell Wilson has that Subway commercial that got put out.
Went viral. His sandwich, his spicy sandwich or whatever. The Danger Witch.
You know the one. Okay. What, like, would you let that get through your fence, I should say?
Would
like,
you let anyone you
out?
represent be that cringy on film ever?
Unfortunately, it's weird. It's like as if you guys like went through my inbox and are like pulling up these subjects. Unfortunately, I gotta plead the fifth on the Wilson.
Okay, fair.
If we ever get together for a beer offline, I'll talk all day.
Off record.
Yeah, off record.
Awesome. Well, fair enough. And then a follow up to that then is any crazy story. We don't need names. It can be a party story. It can be maybe an argument, but like something exciting. If there's a story you can share, just give us as much detail as you can, and we respect that. Certain things can't be shared.
You're asking me to tell you a crazy story about like the industry or about
anything. It can be industry. It could be obviously with an athlete that you've dealt with possibly would be cool, but just anything. It can be anything.
If it's personal,
it could be anything.
Let's take that too.
Yeah. You guys are kind of putting me on the spot. Had I had a little time to prep, I could have dipped into the greatest hits and pulled something out for you guys.
The next time you come on, next time you come on, that would be one of the ones where I know at least we will be salivating over that.
I got one last question for Sam before we let him go. Sam, obviously you have two guys that are on the Cowboys. Does that make you a Cowboys fan, or did you grow up liking a different team, or are you basically married to the team of your clients, or do you have a team that you cheer for besides the Cowboys?
Once again, I think you hacked my email. But my team growing up was hating the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, jeez.
Anybody in my personal life or in college, like I grew up in Orange County, California. I went out to school in Texas, went to college in Texas. So it's like I hated on the Cowboys. And like I remember in the grocery stores on Sunday, they used to just like play the Cowboys game on like the broadcast of the PA in the grocery stores. And I grew up hating the Cowboys and anybody. So like every year when I was a kid, if the Cowboys didn't make the playoffs, I technically won the Super Bowl. Like that was a Super Bowl victory for me. And when Osa got drafted by Dallas, a lot of people were kind of giving me crap for it. And at one point, I actually had 4 guys on the Cowboys. Like this time last year, I had 4 guys. Kyron Brown, who was a cornerback with you guys. He's with the Tennessee. And then Shewo Olanalua, who was a running back with the Cowboys. So at one point, I had 4 guys in Dallas. And I will say I have no allegiance to any NFL team, but I will give the Cowboys credit. And I'm not saying this because this is a Cowboys podcast, but they really do a good job taking care of their players. And I've dealt with a lot of front offices and nobody does it like the Joneses and nobody does it like the Cowboys. Like first thing that Jerry Jones does, and I'm surprised more owners haven't caught on to this. Like if you get drafted by the Cowboys or you sign with Dallas, Jerry Jones gives every player's access to his Uber account. And wherever you are in the country, Jerry Jones is paying for your Ubers. But when he gives it to you, he says to the players, there's no excuse for you ever to drink and drive.
Fair.
That's
hey, respect.
That may not seem like it's a big deal, but like, man, that's like that. And there's a million little examples like that of what Dallas does to like really take care of these guys. Like there's this story, the dudes, I guess, Chick-fil-A ice is like a big deal, right? I guess like the ice at Chick-fil-A. So Jerry knew that the players really like Chick-fil-A ice. So he literally had Chick-fil-A soda machines or ice machines put in the facility for the players. Like they just do. And then like, the setup after the games on Sunday, like they just do a really good job. Dallas takes care of their guys and I give them credit. I give them credit there. But yeah, I grew up hating them, man. Hey. America's team says who, right? Who decided that? You know what I mean?
You know who did? Jerry Jones himself.
Yeah.
And that I love to hear that because I'm a Jerry Jones fan.
Yeah, Alex now is literally wearing an AT&T Stadium hat.
Yeah, I see it. And I love me some Jerry now, but like And another thing too, in Southern California, there's like a large Cowboys fan base.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's ridiculous. And if you go out to Oxnard for training camp, like you'll see it, like, but it's like, why? Like, I don't get it. Like when I would see a Cowboys fan in California, I'd be like, oh, what part of Texas are you from? They're like, oh, I'm from San Diego. So then it's like, why are you a Cowboys fan? Like, what has Jerry Jones ever done for you to cheer for them? But I think, they get more primetime games than any other team in the NFL, right? I think they had like 5 this year alone, probably 6, because I think they ended up getting 1 flexed, right? And so I think a lot of people they just come up on the Cowboys, right? It's just it's one of the most lucrative brands in all of sports.
Well, that's what happened. That's what kind of happened to me. Like when I was a kid, right? Growing up in Canada, you only got X amount of games, but the Cowboys were always on, right? No matter what, the Cowboys were on. Even over Seattle, which is 3 hours away from us, they would play the Cowboys game over that. So got people looking for kind of similar to what you're saying in SoCal. A lot of people just kind of, and we have fans that we've talked to from the UK. They have the similar story. You just kind of branched onto them because they were always on TV. Right.
It's almost like Real Madrid or like Manchester United, right?
Totally.
Like I can only name 2 other soccer teams, right? But like I know those 2. And I grew up in Southern California during the days where we had no NFL teams.
Right.
Like we're gone. The Chargers were in San Diego. And so like a lot of the times you were literally getting the Cowboys game like every and it just it's just
are you allowed to say the team that you grew up rooting for?
I mean, I told you, I literally grew up rooting for hating on the Cowboys. I'm not making that up. Like, I watched every Cowboys game, even during like the Quincy Williams days. You may not even know who that is, but he was like a horrible quarterback that I rocked with for a while. And I loved it. Every time he threw a pick, it was like I won my fantasy game, Like, no, I'm not joking. Like, I literally grew up hating them.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that was my team, them and the Lakers, man. I'm a diehard Lakers fan. That's like probably the one team I have. Like, that's my team right there, are the LA Lakers for sure.
So I know Anth had one last question, but and I know I'm interested in this, and whether or not any of our fans are all Cowboy fans. They're sticking around. They're loving the chat right now, but. What would you say to somebody who wants to get into becoming a sports agent with knowing the landscape and how it's changing and how you got into it? What advice would you give either yourself, a younger version of yourself today who is wanting to become a sports agent? Like, what's the road to get into it?
Yeah, I would first say make sure you're really passionate about this, number one. And then, whatever that sport, like whatever your number one sport is, like if you're super passionate about baseball, you should pursue being an agent on the baseball side. If it's basketball, pursue it on the basketball side. But just the advice, like you got to really follow the curriculum of the leagues and the qualifications, right? Like the last part of your question is like, what's the path to take? Like, if you want to get certified by the NFL, you got to follow those NFLPA qualifications, right? Which is having a college degree, having either an MBA or a law degree, or 7 years of, equivalent experience in negotiating. So it's like, that's the path that you would take. But one thing I would say is just like, make sure you're super passionate about it. And if you are passionate about sports, like understand that like it's not about your career as an agent. It's not about like your agency's brand as an agency. It's about servicing the players, and you need to understand that like you're here, it's a service job, right? You're here to provide service to these guys, because if you think about it, like an Osa Odighizuwa, Neville, Gallimore, right? Like those guys, they get one crack at this. In 5 years, 10 years, I'm going to be doing exactly what I'm doing right now, just with a completely different group of guys. Those guys don't have that same luxury. They get one crack at this. And so the sense of urgency and the loyalty has to be on them. And that's like the thing that I think people like, we are moving in this day and age where like you can fake it till you make it. And so there are a lot of like guys that are out there, I don't want to use the word pretending, but like capping as if like, they're out there working for guys, or that they're these agents, or like they're, representing these players when they're not even really representing them. And then like players young players will fall for it, not realizing that this person, really has no credibility. And so like, there's a lot of that, what's going on in the industry right now. And I think it's interesting in the sense of there's a lot of being an agent. Like, you got to self-promote. Like, I get all that. Like, I completely understand that, especially when your target demographic are, 20 to 22-year-old kids, right? You've got to present yourself in a way that's going to appeal to them, but like, they've got to come first. Like, it's not about me as an agent. It's about me doing what's best for my clients.
100%. And I feel like that's one thing that eventually you'll get called out for that. Like, if you're, like you said, you're in a position where you're trying to do everything for these athletes, I feel like you're, what you're trying to do, if it's not just for them, it gets exposed hopefully eventually, but you could ruin a couple athletes' lives in the time it takes for you to be exposed. So it's definitely a big choice that, these young guys, like you said, that are in their early 20s have to make.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's they've got to come first. They've got to come first. It's the only thing that's right, and it's the only thing that's fair, because they're the ones putting their bodies on the line. And there's going to come a day where all of this is gone, and then that young man and that young man's family has got to go face life, and you've got to put that kid in position to try to be successful away from the field, because every day that he gets up, every time he gets on the field, he's a step closer. It's not, football's a debilitating sport. I mean, you guys saw the game on Monday night. It was of how dangerous this game really is, and that, like, this isn't basketball. This isn't baseball. I understand that there's risks and there's injuries in those games, but football's different. There's a reason that we only play 17 games a year.
Yep.
There's a reason that you train year round to get ready for those 17 games. It's not like basketball where you can simulate play year round. You can go play a pickup game and simulate basketball. You can't do that in football.
No, definitely not. Hey, Sam, we appreciate having you on, man. Do you have any social media, like Twitter or Instagram? Because I'm sure there's some people that were listening that would love to check you out. What do you got there?
Yeah, wouldn't it be funny after all that if I told you I didn't have social media?
yeah. Social media is huge, but I haven't got it yet.
Sam Leaf on everything.
On everything?
It's pretty simple. Reach out to me then, and hopefully we can do this again sometime. And I appreciate you guys having me on.
Hey, man, thanks for being the first NFL agent we've ever had on the show.
Absolutely.
It was a great time. Enjoyed chatting with you, man. And go Cowboys.
Yeah, crack them if you got them, man.
Yeah,
hey, thanks, Sam.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thanks,
See you,
Sam.
Bye.
Or just wait for it. There we go.
What a good guy.
Yeah, great guy. And great questions.
Great a lot of it, like,
nice insight.
How much did you guys know about any of that? Like, you guys obviously, because you're kind of you guys have jobs in media, right? Like, but it's a different aspect to the media world, right?
Yeah. Well, one thing I wanted to say, but I'm glad that we let him go because we took a lot of his time there, and I much appreciated. Thank you, Sam. But I went through a scenario, and Adam, you kind of witnessed really close hand too, and I don't know if you dealt with agents in your line of business as well, but I went through firsthand having a bad agent and then switching to a good agent.
Yeah, well, give us some backstory, AJ, so people know what you're talking about.
Like humble brag us here,
and I shouldn't say bad. It's just a comparison thing. So when I was younger, I was in a band. We played some music and we
had some success.
And we got signed to an agency, and it wasn't the label that we signed to, but we had management, which is essentially the same thing that he's talking about as being an agent. They play I don't mean to speak negatively when I say this. It's a middleman position, exactly how he outlined, where the person is there to be the one who speaks to the label and then basically communicates the message. I, at the time, never saw the value of it. I was like, why are these people here? They're just eating up X amount. I can't remember what it was at the time. It was more than 3%, but regardless, the value that he said is 100% true. And our first management company was actually from Dallas, Texas, but we were playing in Canada. So there was like this, Canada is its own music world. And so there was this disconnect there. And then we switched to Canadian management and things got a lot better.
So that's a perfect example, kind of how he was saying, like, And you only do get one shot at it, right? Like, and you get
Yeah.
these guys, like you were saying, you get some bad actors that are possibly talking a big game, and then they don't really give a shit about who they're representing. So
Yeah.
it is cool to see, for me anyways, just because I obviously don't have a field in entertainment or sports. So it's cool to talk to you when you bring up your stories, but then also Sam's about.
I loved it.
It was awesome. It was a great time.
I also loved hearing that Osa doesn't take pictures with O-line.
I love that. It's like that was the best. I fucking love that. That shit's hilarious.
The thing that so the biggest thing here is that if this was 10 years ago, let's say, and we're doing stuff in a traditional sense, there's probably not a good chance for us to have been able to connect with somebody.
Three.
Yeah,
oh yeah, no fucking way. We're talking.
Oh, fuck
we're
no.
just outside the how do you say it? Ballengee, the Ballengee offices,
Yeah.
just being like, "Hey man, can you talk?
Yeah,
can
so-
you talk?
so the-
wearing my
Here?
Cowboys."
Hey,
jersey?"
hey, walking up with a microphone and a camera. Hey, do you work here?
Yeah. Well, and so like,
you're
so,
right.
So the way that things are changing and evolving, and it's great to see that he's open to coming on to
Definitely.
It was
a show like
awesome.
this, and even I mean. You know, I hope what he said about getting Osa or Neville Gallimore, just because he's a Canadian Cowboys fan, not a Canadian Cowboys fan, he's a Canadian playing on the Cowboys would be great. But
We're not picky.
Oh, not picky at all, man.
But I mean, but
The offer itself was nice enough.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, what we're going to do now, we're going to jump into the thing that we do every week. We're going to talk about score predictions and bold predictions, guys.
Yeah, and before we let's segueing into that.
Yep.
I'm bringing up now the players'
Oh, okay.
stats for the year,
Yep.
and then also I'm going to pull up something else.
Pull it up and out.
Yeah.
Hey, man, TP20, 12 yards away from that 1K.
Is he playing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
They're getting Tony Pollard that 1K. Even if this is basically going into this Washington game, it's all hands on deck. If they're healthy, they got to play.
They have to play.
They have to play. You have to win it.
I'm just pulling up the Dallas Cowboys.
Not only is it important for them to play, going in on a win is so much more important than losing to a division rival.
sorry, and this is what happens sometimes. So I was looking at chat the whole time, but I was able to focus on the interview with Sam.
Yep.
Just want to give a quick shout out before we hop into this chat.
That's fine.
Thanks for sticking through that. I hope you guys enjoyed the Sam Leaf. It seems like you did. Obviously, and this sounds so cliche to say it, we would still be doing this if there was one person in it, but because we have such ride or dies in the chat and guys who like we're building this brand and this community with, like, thanks for sticking around. We obviously it makes us doing this week to week
Yeah.
incredibly enjoyable, growing this with you guys. And even like when we went to Dallas to see the Thanksgiving game, being there with Kilo C and meeting up with guys like Ben Pia,
Cowboys Chris.
like, so just wanted to say thanks for sticking through. And as soon as we bring a guest on that we think, okay, guys would like this, everybody seemed to be jiving on it, minus the Eagles fan. Fuck him.
Fuck him.
But just wanted to give a shout out that we're not trying to ignore anybody here. We're just trying to like kind of get back in, and just wanted to say appreciate y'all.
Well, and I think that and thank you, Adam. That's a very nice thing to say.
Sometimes I got to get emotional. I was just trying to explain to them that.
New year, new ad.
No, it's just because EJ was asking about the yearly awards. I'm like, yeah, we're going to get to the yearly awards next week. And I said, like, we still have a highlight video of the year that we're doing. There's just a lot of stuff on our end that we're trying to make sure that we're staying up to date with. And I always want to say that we appreciate you guys.
We got enough time to do the yearly awards as time you have to say Happy New Year. So it's like, give us about a month and a little bit. Then it starts to get weird.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I just wanted to say that this is something that we would talk about, and this type of subject, right? Oh, what's it like to be an agent? We had, we probably have talked about it in the past, not that specific, but we're trying to just bring a subject or something up that's a little bit, because if you really want the data and the hard facts, I mean, we're going to always try to improve on that, but you can find better elsewhere at this point, right? We're not hyper focused on.
We're not nerds.
Exactly. Well, that's a nice way to put it. But on anything, there's no hyper focus. We're kind of just trying to deliver an overall experience of a podcast. The podcast is from the perspective of 3 fans.
Well,
so bringing in these other things, like you said, I mean, it's I think that's just what we're trying to do, anyways.
And to be honest, we've kind of settled into a routine where we know that chat will correct us, our audience will correct us or help provide us information and insight into these things. So as much as we are the casual fans and the voice of like
you two.
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
Don't group me in with casual fans.
No.
Oh, I don't know why I use the word casual fans because we talk about
You talk about the Cowboys more than anybody else you know.
I let it slide.
I ain't letting that shit
Yeah,
slide.
sorry.
Okay,
I
back
don't
to
mean
these
casual
stats,
fan.
boys.
Hey,
Guys,
we just talked about we don't want to talk about stats.
At the end of the day, it is a Cowboys podcast. So, AJ, what were you wanting to point out on this on the stats here?
Just joking.
Nothing on the stats specifically. I just wanted to say, like, as we're making our bold predictions and thinking about the game forward, what I really want to bring up is this one specific webpage that has a really good breakdown of all the stats, and so I'm just trying to pull that up.
Don't shout out the webpage because they're not a sponsor.
Hey, Zeke didn't do a very good job to get near 1,000 last week, boys. We were hoping he was going to run for 170.
I know, but
that's exactly why.
What, did he run for 40?
But that's exactly why he didn't do it, because we were expecting that.
He's got a 3.9 average right now. Zeke boy. He hasn't had that in a while.
He had a bad game last game.
Look at the 12 tugs, though.
His last game was like 1 point something yards.
But he's doing the hard running again.
He is.
So you got to...
And he's got 12 tugs, though. Look at that. 12 touchdowns. Does Zeke get that? What is it? Will it be 10 in a row this Sunday if he scores? He'll have 10 games in a row with a touchdown, rushing touchdown? That's exciting.
Yeah, that would be great. Here's my question for you, Anth.
Yeah.
If Zeke ends with a 4.0 average with only 10 more yards, are you...
I'm okay with that. But for that, you'd only have to run like twice then.
Right, but what I'm saying, though, is... But then is it bad then if he gets 100 more yards but maintains a 3.9
I mean,
average?
with his role in the Cowboys right now is those touchdowns. So as long as that touchdown mark is over 10, I'm happy. I'm happy with how Zeke's played this year. You see that 3.9 as a running back and as Zeke, who's always had a pretty high 4 point whatever. It's kind of, I feel bad for him.
Do you think the consensus is like Zeke's getting those? So we say the tough yardage, but I have seen some comments just about that Zeke's getting those easy tutties. Like, I mean, it's right in the red zone. They're already there. Tony Pollard did all the work, and now he's taking the touchdown. So it's not the hard yardage that we keep saying.
It is, though. It's not easy to score 12 touchdowns in the NFL. So anyone that thinks that, I don't know. I guess they could say that. I haven't heard that take. Is that actually a take?
I did hear it. I'm trying to remember where I can actually quote it. So
866, 3.9 for 12 touchdowns. That's a decent season for a guy that's splitting carries.
Do you think? I mean, there's probably not a big. He's probably not going to go for the yardage that he needs to get that 1,000 yards. There's no way unless
I don't think so. He needs what 100 and
he'd have to get so many yards.
Yeah,
I was going to say the 100 and so many yards, but I can't do the quick.
134 yards.
Yeah, 136.
I mean, look,
134.
Is it doable? Yeah, they just have to be feeding him the entire game.
Get TP20 is 12 and then just go Zeke the whole time.
Fucking go Zeke the whole time and then just go hard running, which, hey, honestly, it might not be the worst approach to the game anyways. I would so love to see, because I'm such a, like, what's the difference? So Zeke gets 950 yards.
Right.
And Tony Pollard gets 1,000, but it's like, but if he got 1,000,
that'd be so much better.
Yeah. It's like it's just that handful of yards a game.
It's just that number, that milestone, that century mark that everybody wants to see, basically.
What was the attempts between the two of them? 186 and 223.
Tony Pollard's put in his fucking work.
Oh, TP20's been the premier running back in the NFL this year.
They both missed a game, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Or Zeke missed. Yeah.
Zeke missed 2.
Tony's
missed last week.
Yeah.
Pollard missed last week, and then Zeke missed a couple midway.
But look, this is how Zeke runs, though. He gets, I mean, at least for the last 2 years, right? He gets off to this hard start for the first 6 games, and then
slows down a
little bit, but again, thinking back to the games, I can't remember a hard down yarded situation where Zeke didn't come in there and push and get the. Now, obviously, I don't mean that he didn't get the first down, but like come in and make a a damn good effort. Sometimes he's getting touched at the line of scrimmage and pushing forward for 2 or 3 yards, right?
Right. What was this page you wanted to bring up?
Yeah.
Oh, well, before we move on, just
You sneaky Pete.
look at receiving here. What do you want to see here? We got Noah Brown and Dalton Schultz as the number 1, 2. I mean, Gallup's really underperformed.
So CD just won. CD's, you got your top there, 102
Yeah.
reception.
I mean, I just mean like CD's. If CD gets 8 receptions, 75 yards, I'm pretty damn happy with him. Would love to see another touchdown or 2.
It's just crazy to see our depth behind CD Lamb. I really would have liked.
That's what I mean.
I really would have liked to see what T.Y. Hilton could have done in this offense if he was here the whole year. I bet you T.Y. would have been, I would say probably around 700 or 800 yards if he was in from day one with the Cowboys. If he played all 16 games.
Well, he's good for a 30-plus bomb a game.
30-plus bomb a game. He's just a great possession receiver right now, and I think he really would have helped this offense previously, but I'm glad we have him going into the postseason.
With his obvious production that he's doing and obviously the releasing of James Washington.
Yeah, another thing we didn't talk about.
Sorry.
Crack him if you got him. James Washington released today.
So at first, I think I was really high up on the guy, and I wanted to see him do well because I liked what I guess I just noticed him when he played with the Steelers, and I thought, oh, this guy had some talent. But when you bring in T.Y. Hilton, the reason I was so high up on Washington is because I knew that we needed like this receiver to be that number 3 position.
Yeah, you needed that guy. You needed that guy, and we were hoping what we've seen from T.Y. Hilton in his last 2 games, we were hoping we had that receiver in James Washington. Obviously, he had an injury in training camp with the foot. He ended up only playing 15 snaps for the Cowboys. I don't think it was a bad signing. The Cowboys at least tried to do something about it, and it just didn't pan out.
And you know what? I actually think in hindsight, which is always easier to make the call, but T.Y. Hilton is the better receiver for that position. He's got that experience. It's not necessarily about him having that. Like, we should have that breakaway speed or ability in CD Lamb and Michael Gallup.
Right.
Not necessarily speed, but breakaway ability.
Well, here's the other thing,
and Brown's shown up and been a really good number 3. So you're really looking for that mentorship.
Well, here's the other thing, too. CD Lamb, who is, and it's not even arguably, he's our WR1, right? And you bring in a guy like T.Y. Hilton, and automatically CD Lamb comes out publicly and says, I've learned so much already from a veteran like T.Y. Hilton. Now, we can say that Amari Cooper was brought onto the team to almost play a similar role that they're now utilizing T.Y. Hilton in, let's say, like that, having him in there to help create opportunities for CeeDee Lamb. But when you look at like who a player can gravitate towards or accept certain type of like mentorship from,
the person that's being the mentor.
Yeah, exactly. So like, okay, maybe Amari Cooper didn't pair well with CeeDee Lamb, and us as fans are like, you're getting rid of Amari Cooper. He was like the route runner that we needed, and he did great stuff for our offense. Okay, well, if he's not gelling with certain aspects of our team, and I'm not saying that he wasn't, but I'm just saying, clearly, if we can get a guy like T.Y. Hilton in and all of a sudden it elevates the rest of our wide receiver core, specifically our WR1, then it's a win-win all over. And I hope to see it more of a, not just a one-off, one-year thing. Like I hope we see T.Y. Hilton in that role next year if he's doing those types of positive gains with a guy like CeeDee Lamb.
And how about we look at our defense here?
Sometimes when I'm talking and I'm looking at Ant right now, I know he's reading something, but he's wearing his glasses, so I don't know his look right now. I don't know if he's disagreeing with me. I don't know if he's thinking I'm stupid.
I'm looking at the stat. I was reading the stats basically.
But like, just like when we're doing stuff over here and you're talking and we're trying to distract you, like
it's so distracting. And when at the start of the show, you guys were farting around. It's so hard to.
And guess what? You pull it off much better than me. So
well, I'm like trying to get at AJ. What? What's going on?
Well, it's the same way when I'm looking, like, because like you're right in my eye line and I'm saying all these things and you're just like this.
Well, yeah, because I'm reading.
I can't see your eyes, so it looks like you're looking at me like this.
Let's
I'm
look
like,
at our.
Am I saying something wrong right now?
Let's just have a look at our defense quickly, and then I'll pull up that page, and then we can go into our
Boldies and
Yeah. So
predictions.
Here's our defense right now, totaled by tackles. Looking
Dono,
at the top of the list, baby.
Dono Wilson. Hey, and then you got LVE, and this was one thing I did want to say prior to us talking about whatever we did. Going into the postseason, we should have Leighton Vander Esch back. We should have Hankins back, and we should have Tyler Biadasz back. So that's 3 guys that we're going to have 3 starters, or at least 3 big contributors back for the postseason, which is nice. And we'll get... I'm kind of missing LVE a bit. I realized that the guy does have a place on this defense, and he's gained some respect. I'm sure this is a big deal to him. He's gained some respect for me this year.
Hey, it makes a deal to me.
Dude, you know that Schultze's going to run up to him tomorrow and be like, I just was watching the Can Fan podcast, and you're back in Ant's good books.
Yeah.
Can you click that TFLs actually, AJ? The TFL.
Yes, and but real quick, we mentioned this, but I just want to reiterate. Our
Crack me if you got him.
2 of our safeties, or even the top fucking 6 here, 3 of the top 6, 2 of the top 3 tackles are our safeties.
Yeah. Which respect, J-Ron.
And J-Ron respect, but it means that players are slipping by and getting to safeties. And safeties
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Not now. Given Wilson and Kurse are often up there on the line.
They're up there. If they're fighting through the seven, they're in the trenches. Those guys for sure.
Tackle somebody. Don't let these guys chew up the goddamn clock on us.
Oh, it feels good to pop one off.
I know, right?
So tackle for loss, Micah Parsons, not surprising, and then DeMarcus Lawrence. Those 3 guys, Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence Armstrong are the top 3 guys for tackle for losses. That's no surprises there.
And until we hear different, I don't think a tackle for a loss is counted for a sack.
It's not.
No, right.
It's not. It's got to be the ball carrier behind the line. The craziest thing about that, you look down the line and you get Sam Williams and Dante Fowler Jr., who haven't had a crazy amount of snaps, but they're still up there, each with 8 for Sam Williams for tackle for loss, and Fowler Jr. has 7. That's pretty impressive. And then our boy Osa with a solid 6. I do like that.
Now just consider right now, Osa, just a straight up Osa for Randy Gregory. I mean, he's just performed.
Osa or like Dorrance Armstrong?
No, I'm just saying, like, if you look at what Osa did compared to what Anthony Gregory gave, and especially if you go price per sack, like dollar per sack, like Osa is just a much better player to have than Gregory. But the better comparison is Dante Fowler.
Yeah, Fowler or Armstrong, I think would be.
Sure,
they're both ends, right? Osa's a tackle.
Sorry. I see
Armstrong, Fowler's a better, and both of those guys, Armstrong and Fowler, have both been better than Randy Gregory this year, and they're both cheaper than he is combined.
Yeah, and Fowler, I was calling his name. I'm really glad that he showed up and got 6 sacks. Maybe he'll get another one tomorrow. But he's definitely a guy to be that
great signing in the offseason.
Yeah.
Definitely, he was a Dan Quinn guy earlier in his career, and he's definitely found some success in the rotation on the defensive line.
Okay, so as we prepare to make our bold predictions, I just want to pull up this, if you remember this page. It's just got all of the good. It's got the players on the right-hand side for our listeners. It's got all the top players, stats leaders on the right-hand side.
It gives you the spread, too. Can we see that spread there?
The spread, yeah.
I want to see the gambling stuff.
But it doesn't show this. It doesn't show the turnovers,
I guess it has it there, too. Okay, so, AJ, there was just an easier one to read. Go up right there. So, spread. The Cowboys are -7. The money line's -320. And the over-under set at 41. So, they're only saying we're only going to win by a touchdown. Which
really?
I mean, it is a divisional game, but we are playing against a rookie quarterback. A -7, that's pretty low in my opinion.
But this is just on the Tipico sports book. It's not everything. I thought it was a 5.5.
Yeah, well, I saw 5 on another one, but that's even say they're expecting it to be closer on some sports books.
Well, then I'd take the over.
Right. Hey, listen.
Or I'd take the spread. I mean,
all we know is that Anth is.
I'm not betting.
I don't know.
Well, you know what?
I'm not betting.
I should bet this week because
no, fuck you.
Well, it doesn't really mean much.
No, fuck you.
I'm gonna bet. I can't bet it. I can't bet in playoffs. This is my last chance to bet on the Cowboys.
I say go for it.
Hey, what was the last game that you bet on?
The
Jaguars.
No, I won money on who'd we play after that? The Eagles.
Oh, so you secretly bet?
Yeah, but it was just like with a buddy. Like it wasn't on a sports book.
No. Yeah, no. But the last sports book betting that
Yeah, it was against the Jaguars.
Yeah, so fuck off. Don't bet.
Doing it.
Hey, but
so everybody out there, when we lose to the Commanders, it's because of Anth. Because he has that power.
I'm all for it. When you look at this is the Washington Commanders' last game since October 23rd. So just start looking for viewers or for audio listeners. Sorry, viewers, you can use your eyes and see what's.
You got it the wrong way though. Scroll up.
I know, but I'm saying because this is how they have it displayed. So just look. This is what the point I want to bring out. Look at all these wins.
Yeah.
So it's like, 5 wins in 6 games, and then as you move up, boom, they've actually gone for a tie and then 3 losses.
That tie against the Giants just derailed their whole season.
Yeah,
because at one point it looked like all the NFC East teams were going to make the playoffs, and the Commanders just totally crashed and burned since December 4th. They haven't won a game since November 27th.
Wow.
And now they're starting a third-string quarterback who's never played in the NFL, which can be scary because you don't know what you're going to get. But yeah, that's wild.
So here on the stats page, we just have a quick breakdown of the total yards per game, rushing yards per game, a comparison, et cetera, et cetera. So passing yards, first downs, rushes for first per game, passes for first per game. I mean, we got all the hot stats. This is going to help us make our bold predictions a little bit more juicy.
Well, what sticks out to you guys here? They're actually quite. When you look at,
it's not a.
They're actually quite. They're very similar. Go down maybe to the interceptions, throw, fumble, loss. That's got to be the telling point. Oh, I mean, everything's quite similar. Defensive interceptions, obviously, Dallas has 15, Washington has 8. And obviously, we have 45 sacks, and the Washington only has 26.
I'll tell you this. One stat that scares me is Washington can control the ball 33 minutes of time. That's a long time.
Yeah, time of possession. They're definitely keeping the ball. They're beating the cat. That's really the only stat I'm looking at that they have over the Cowboys, and that can be scary. So they definitely can run the ball. Terry McLaurin's a scary receiver. They have a couple good running backs. Like, they have a good team. It hasn't worked out. They obviously had success earlier in the season, and since they would love to make sure Dallas doesn't end up getting that first seed.
100%.
This one also, does Dallas only have 26 sacks?
No, we have 4 in the 40s.
Well, what's this defensive sacks? Dallas 26.
I don't know.
45.
I think that's how many we may have given up. No, it's got to be something like that. Sacks allowed.
Wouldn't that be funny if Alex was looking at like a week? What week? What was the week? It's an older one. I'm trying to think what week we were playing them beforehand.
Okay, this is how it is. It's backwards.
Oh, there you go, baby.
Sacks allowed. Dallas is. I think they screwed that up because it should be Dallas has 51 sacks, and I think we've only allowed 26 sacks.
That's what it is.
Well, now this entire webpage that you brought up,
it's fucking moot.
It has to be disregarded.
We can't take these stats into account.
We cannot take those stats into account at all.
Are you ready for score prediction, bold prediction?
I'm ready.
We need something for next year for our things that our segments that are going to be like
every week
or that we will use somewhat frequently. We'll have a little intro song.
10-second intro song, maybe infographic. Infographic.
Yeah,
we'll do sexy picture.
Yeah, we'll pump it up a bit. I mean, I've said it all season. Oh, I'm going to make a Kraken player of the game.
2 years I think we're on now.
Well, no, this is the first year that we did Kraken player of the game. So, but thanks for coming out.
Did we do Kraken player last game?
No, we voted on
CD.
it. Well, no, we picked it.
Actually, Dalton Schultz ended up winning the. So the fan was Dalton Schultz.
So that's what
fans went Dalton Schultz in the Instagram at Cowboys CanFan poll.
Well, we are men of the people.
I don't agree with it.
We are men of the people, so we'll concede.
Okay, who's starting off?
So Dalton Schultz?
Yeah, the Dalton Schultz got Kraken play of the game. Okay, I'll start. Score prediction. Obviously, they're going to win by that -5 that I'm betting on, and I'm going to go with the over. I think it's going to be over 41 points. Cowboys are going to have 30. I've said it so much, but I just have to get it once. 38-7. Cowboys win 38-7. Boosh.
Adam?
And the Cowboys, Eagles lose, 49ers lose, Cowboys getting that first seed, baby. Let's go.
Is that your bold?
Yeah, that's my bold prediction. Good call.
You dirty fucker, you.
That's my. Were you going something like that?
That's what I was gonna do.
Okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I can alter. Before I do that, shout out to Bandwagon Baba. She says, "Does AJ not know that the beer should be poured into the mug?"
It fits so perfectly, Baba. Look. I mean, you can feel the air push out. That's how tight it is.
Plus, what everyone doesn't know is that AJ uses that as like his junk drawer.
That's my junk.
He throws
My junk.
He
Chewed
throws
gum and
chewed
wrappers.
gum, leftover vapes into there. Okay, so
Popeye's chicken.
Popeye's chicken. So I think we're gonna see 40-27 game for the Cowboys.
All right.
And I
That's
feel
a lot of points scored up on them.
Yep.
Wow.
And primarily because we don't know what Sam Howell will do, and this is a nothing game for them, but it could be a something game for him. So you never know. Sometimes these it seems to be a trend where these third stringers will come in and all of a sudden they'll start producing stuff out of nowhere. So yeah, I do think it'll be a little bit more point scoring from them than what we would have expected from Taylor or
Wentz.
or Wentz. That fuck, you know.
What was your
40-27?
No, you're bold.
And my bold prediction. My bold prediction.
Not your ball prediction, Adam.
Oh, sorry, my bold prediction. LB, the new LB, Lindsay Best, says 27-14.
Wow.
But she doesn't specify if it's the Cowboys or
I think
the
she's
Commanders.
she's going Commanders.
Probably going Commanders, eh?
Feels like
the wife.
27-14.
Yeah, that's LB's.
Lynn's best.
It's Cowboy. We always say it's Cowboys unless you specify.
Yeah, it's Cowboys unless you specify.
And your bold prediction is?
My bold prediction this time around is we are going to see Kavonte Turpin get a return touchdown on a punt.
So a punt return. Touchdown. Okay. And so that's a screech shot too.
Yep. And so I didn't want to just say
That's good.
I hope he gets a receiving touchdown or a kickoff return touchdown.
Yeah.
I'll take either. But
No,
I mean,
no. You said
I'm
punt
saying
return.
I'll take either.
No,
and
receiver.
I'm fine not getting my bold.
Not kickoff. That's still a fucking screech.
Oh yeah, screech. It would still be a screech, but I mean, adds bold prediction would it be?
Do we have any screech left?
Yeah, we do.
Oh yeah, we got a fucking full bottle.
Yeah, we got a
Oh,
full bottle. That will be, if we're doing a screech shot, it's coming out of the non-cracked bottle.
I'm going the most conservative of us all.
Okay.
34 points for the Cowboys because it's a nice probable number.
Yep.
Snooze fest.
Snooze fest, the guy says. And then I think Washington goes for 17 points. You know, they're able to score a couple, but it's not scary throughout the whole game. Cowboys win 34-17.
And you think they get a couple garbage, like that 17's like a touchdown or a field
Could be
goal
a
with
la-
like a minute left?
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
actually a bigger beatdown than it looked?
Yeah, I think they get a touchdown sometime in the first three quarters, and they probably kick a field goal as well because they're going to get close enough. Bend don't break. But then there could be a last, 6-minute touchdown that really is not going to get them anywhere.
It ain't going to get them shit.
Cowboys might have even pulled
gonna
Micah
get them
Parsons at this time.
Oh,
You know.
you're saying the Cowboys might pull their starters if
Well,
they get
if
a big,
you're up-
if they get a big lead.
If you're up 34-10 with 6 minutes left,
you know we're
you
gonna have the
might-
picture-in-picture up to on Sunday.
Oh,
boys.
yeah.
Well, so as we were talking about that, EJ's giving two fun stats. The Eagles have beaten every NFC East team on the first time around and thus far have lost each time they replay them. Could the Giants keep the streak
Ooh,
going?
That's what we're hoping.
And then his second stat, he has another fun stat. The Cowboys will be playing 3 straight QBs making their season debuts in a row.
Crazy. And that makes me nervous because then we're gonna go from that, like I said, to Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
But whatever.
And making a last buzzer beater appearance on the pod.
Oh,
Nate Dogg's in the
Nate
house.
In the
Dogg.
house. Nate
Just
Dogg's
before
in
I
the
give my bold prediction.
Just before you get and Nate Dogg, if you're just showing up, well, you are just showing up late. He just said his survey says I sobered up from last week. Rewind. We had a sports agent on who represents Osa Odighizuwa. Odighizuwa and Neville Gallimore on the pod.
And
it was good. It was a good chat.
And as a shout out to I feel like we can call him our boy now.
Our boy.
Sammy boy.
Sam Leaf. And to our boy affiliate, Osa and Neville.
Dude.
I'm calling a sack for both of those guys.
Oh,
sweet.
So is that we're calling them the Ballengee group?
The Ballengee group.
Ballengee group.
The Ballengee group.
Ballengee group sack.
The Ballengee group.
Ballengee group sack.
Well, here's what we need to do to Sam Leaf. We need to send him a care package with a couple Can-Fan shirts.
Yep.
Not only for himself and for his squad, but for our two favorite clients of his.
Yep,
absolutely.
So let's hear that boldy then, AJ.
Yeah, get that bowl. Get that bowl. Get that bowl.
Oh yeah, both sacks.
Gallimore.
Okay. I want that one.
And Osa both getting a sack.
The Ballengee Sack Co.
Or as Boots on the Ground says, the Can-Fan affiliates.
The Can-Fan affiliates. All right, we're going to shout ourselves out here. Long 2-hour episode.
How do you shout yourself out?
I'm about to do it. Long 2-hour episode, which was great. We had a good chat with Sammy Boy. We had a good chat with the Bandwagon Boys. What time are we going to be going live? Who cares? We'll be here at some point on Sunday.
Yes,
Let's go a monster hour
Let's
before.
go monster hour before kickoff on Sunday for the last game before this playoffs, baby.
Let's go playoffs!
See you Sunday.